Salesforce to HubSpot adoption. So we have got Lauren Ryan here with us today, who is an absolute expert. She's our go-to for all Salesforce, questions and things on LinkedIn. If you don't follow her already on LinkedIn, please do, because she shares so much valuable information. But Lauren, I'll let you introduce yourself and your experience, because it's better coming from you.
Hey guys, thanks for joining. And if you're watching the recording, thanks for watching. I'm Lauren Ryan. I'm based in Richmond, Virginia, and I started Coastal Consulting a little bit over 3 years ago because I saw a gap in the market to help teams using HubSpot and Salesforce and help you kind of bridge the gap. So today we're talking about users who have left Salesforce for HubSpot and how to make that transition and kind of what the day-to-day looks like side by side in the platforms for anybody who is considering making that decision. And then as far as what I do on the day-to-day, it's I spend every day fully in both platforms, helping teams with both. So I've built expertise in both platforms and really am the go-to expert for using both together. So happy to talk to you all today.
Exciting. I think that's what sets you apart a lot, is that you spend a lot of time in both platforms, whereas some people just spend time in HubSpot and then they've got previous Salesforce knowledge, but you're like up to date on it all the time. So you'll have seen the new UI changes that they've implemented, so it looks a lot more like HubSpot now and things. So I'm sure you'll get into that today. But just a bit of housekeeping before I do hand over to Lauren to talk all about Salesforce and HubSpot today. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat or the Q&A panel. I'm going to keep an eye on that throughout and interrupt Lauren occasionally with those as and when we can. And the recording is going to go out, and it's going to include the links to Lauren's slides. And there's also a couple of other links. So I'll include Lauren's LinkedIn, and also she runs some really great monthly training sessions. So I'll include links to those as well. So without further ado, Lauren, I'm going to hand over to you.
Awesome. Okay. I'm going to share some slides and mostly going to spend time walking through the platform. So the slides are there to kind of give you a guide to take afterwards to say, okay, if you're talking to somebody else on your team about this or something like that. It also has a bunch of helpful links that we'll go through as we get started. So title slide, moving through these. Like I said, I'm Lauren, founder of Coastal Consulting. As additional just validation of why I matter in this space, I have 5 active Salesforce certifications, a little bit over 30 HubSpot certifications. I'm a HubSpot and a Salesforce partner. So I lean towards HubSpot. Like, I'm a HubSpot person. I absolutely love HubSpot. When I started my business, I chose to go HubSpot all the way. However, when it comes to people in the HubSpot space, when you're trying to get a fair evaluation of HubSpot and Salesforce, I'm as close to unbiased as it comes because I do see the value in both and spend a lot of time in both. If you do use the HubSpot Salesforce integration, I also started the Navigators community, which is designed for people using HubSpot and Salesforce to connect with one another and get help. Because there's a lot of people who talk about one side or the other, but there isn't a dedicated space for both until now. So that's free to join. Now, agenda, roughly. Going to go over a quick intro to HubSpot if you do have a Salesforce background and you're trying to see how HubSpot translates. So we're going to go through that quickly. I've got some slides I'm not even going to cover there, but if you download it, it's just helpful, like resources for that. 2, we're going to walk through the day in the life of a salesperson using HubSpot and Salesforce. The primary focus there is an SDR or a BDR role. So it's earlier in the process where they're working on prospecting and kind of filling the pipeline. And we'll talk a little bit about quoting as well. Then we're going to move into the day in the life of a marketer in HubSpot and look through probably just creating like one campaign, like different assets that go into building a marketing campaign and some reporting from a marketing perspective. And then we'll get to Q&A. So if you sent in something before, we'll go over those questions, and you can ask questions in the chat as we go as well. So we'll have that dedicated time for Q&A. So intro to HubSpot. Whenever you're looking at the HubSpot layout, if you're coming from a Salesforce background, you're trying to figure it out. Over on the left screen, it used to be at the top, but now the navigation is on the left. You can start to see these different sections of HubSpot, which are essentially the functionality that's unlocked in different hubs throughout HubSpot. And these are akin to Lightning apps in Salesforce as far as the functionality pieces. So in Salesforce, you're able to open different Lightning apps to get access to different functionality. And in HubSpot, as you navigate, you're able to access different features through the navigation. A big call out between HubSpot and Salesforce is the Salesforce UI is a lot more customizable. As Bridget mentioned, they recently announced in May that they're doing a new UI. However, whenever you log into Salesforce accounts, it's going to be a long time before you see that UI, because whenever Salesforce releases things for their UI, it's never a blanket, here's what it is now. It's always an opt-in and up to the admin as to how they choose to use it and where they apply it. For example, there's two versions of Salesforce. There's Salesforce Classic and Salesforce Lightning. Salesforce Classic has been around forever. Salesforce Lightning was released, I don't know, sometime within the past 10 years. And there are still accounts that are using Salesforce Classic and have not moved to Salesforce Lightning. So in Salesforce, so it's always very depressing whenever I get into an account and they're using Salesforce Classic. But essentially what that looks like is you can always switch between the two if you're an admin, but your admin has to enable the ability to use Salesforce Lightning. So this is Salesforce Classic, the more legacy view of Salesforce. Some of HubSpot's help articles on the integration refers to Salesforce Classic. Most teams are using Lightning now, but there are still a lot who are not. So just to keep in mind, there is this new UI they've announced. That doesn't mean it's going to start showing up in like your account right now, because your administrator has to decide what your Salesforce looks like. Okay. Settings in Salesforce, or setup in Salesforce, is akin to settings in HubSpot. So when you're looking at where to manage your admin things, usually in Salesforce, you have a setup option to open setup in a new window and work through all of your settings. And in HubSpot, this is all managed through settings. And all of your users are going to be able to see settings in their HubSpot account. However, depending on their access, it's going to show if they have access to these other things. So a difference there is in Salesforce, you only see this setup option if you're an administrator. In HubSpot, you see the settings option, but once you click into it is very different based off of if you're an admin or something else. So just a note that some Salesforce people are like, oh my gosh, why do they have access to our settings? They don't. They have access to their own settings, which are up here. Their general settings and their notification preferences are stored in the same place. This is a slide I'm not going to go over, but these are fast facts about how HubSpot and Salesforce relate, like HubSpot contacts sync to Salesforce leads and contacts, interpretation of HubSpot leads as pre-deals for Salesforce, just how to think about some things. So you can grab the link to these slides in the chat, and Bridget's going to send it out afterwards.
I will. That's really great, like a little cheat sheet that you can go back to and make sure that you haven't lost anything. It's all still there. It's just a different name now.
Yes. So gonna hop in the meat of this, talking about a day in the life of a salesperson using HubSpot versus Salesforce. So whenever you're in Salesforce, the big value prop of being a Salesforce customer is that everything is deeply customizable, right? The big challenge of that is that everything's deeply customizable, meaning you can go too far in that direction, and everything that you customize in Salesforce is going to have an equal customization for whatever platform you're pulling into it. So whenever you're installing the HubSpot Salesforce integration, where most people run into an issue is they're not using Salesforce as it's out of the box, which is how the HubSpot Salesforce integration and every Salesforce integration is designed to work, because you have to start from somewhere. But most teams customize their Salesforce instance and then don't realize they have to build equivalent customizations with their integrations to make the data flow correctly. So all of that to say, this is the home screen I'm choosing to show you in Salesforce, but your admin can choose for your home screen to be whatever you want it to be. The standard, like out of the box Salesforce homepage is this, as far as a sales rep is concerned, and their sales app, to be able to see activity, pipeline, leads, my opportunities, my leads, tasks, etc. So this is essentially a dashboard that is embedded as the home view for the sales team in Salesforce. And then in HubSpot, you're able to choose your homepage based off of, you can assign it based off of team or off of individual, or as an individual, I believe you can choose your homepage as well. If you are an SDR or a BDR, someone working those earlier stage deals, you'll probably choose the prospecting workplace as your homepage. So this is a newer HubSpot functionality, I would say within the last year, that pulls all of your sales activities into one place. And a lot of things, well, something I tell a lot of teams is even if you're using Salesforce as your primary sales tool, I would still recommend HubSpot for sales enablement. Instead of Outreach or SalesLoft, being able to plug HubSpot into the integration to be able to do sales sequencing, meetings, stuff like that, where your sales team can use this dashboard for their engagement piece. And then your account executives, later stage sales reps can close deals in Salesforce. On the prospecting page, this is not customizable. There isn't like a layout change you can do to this yet. However, it is intuitive and doesn't necessarily need one, which is nice. That's kind of like the overarching theme of HubSpot is it's not deeply customizable. You can't change this navigation. However, it does work for most people. Therefore, it's okay that it's not super flexible. In prospecting, it's kind of easy to see everything that you have coming up today, everything that's overdue as far as your tasks. And you're able to see an activity feed of different things your contacts are doing, as well as your calendar schedule for the day, based off of your Google Calendar, Outlook calendar. You can also access your leads really easily in one spot, your schedule for the day kind of blown up, or the week, I guess, and then the feed blown up as well. So it's very much a workspace dedicated to sales from an enablement perspective. So the reason that I like this is because it's all condensed into one view, whereas in Salesforce, as you're hopping around to leads, we're now in this section, clicking through to these people, and then we go back to the home page. So it's not all in one spot. You kind of have to pop throughout Salesforce to get to it. Okay. All right. This is a big one and probably my favorite difference between Salesforce and HubSpot when it comes to usability from a sales rep POV, is the email sending functionality. So in Salesforce, if you open up a lead, like I'm a sales rep, I have this new person, I want to go ahead and send them an email. You go into Salesforce and click email them. It pops open an email for you to type in. You can use an existing template in your account. If you have one, I don't know if I have any in this demo account yet. Maybe here's a sample template. Cool. So I can go ahead and choose this. It doesn't really give me a preview of what that template is until the text is in here, but I'm able to choose a template. It does the merge tags, and then I can press send. Challenge here is I can't schedule it for the future. I have to send it right now. And there's also no automated follow-up. So I can send one email, and then maybe a few days later, I have to log in and go send another email. There isn't a scheduling tool. Now, if you're a Salesforce user, you might say, yes, there is. There are definitely apps that you can buy to integrate into Salesforce to then use as email schedulers. But Salesforce itself in Sales Cloud does not have an email scheduler that's built into the UI directly from this email creation tool. It's kind of clunky, a little bit old school. And then also with these templates, once it's sent, there's no tracking here. So there isn't tracking on if somebody opens it or engages with it. It's kind of send it out there and hope you get a response. Comparatively, in HubSpot, whenever you go to email a contact, it's kind of like a little sales workstation within the email send UI. So click send email to this person, and I'm able to access templates just like in Salesforce. We're able to select a template, it puts the data in there. I'm able to do sequences, which is a huge difference. If you're using Sales Hub Professional or above, you're able to do sequences where you're able to say, okay, here's my inbound lead sequence. I can go ahead and select this, and it has a series of emails and call tasks for me for every new lead. So if you're using Professional, you can go manually enroll in these things. Or if your team is using Sales Hub Enterprise, as leads come into HubSpot and they qualify for certain things, you can go ahead and auto enroll them in these sequences. So your sales team doesn't actually have to do that manual step of initial outreach. So if you want them to qualify and manually enroll, you can. But if you have your qualification rules locked down and you feel really confident in how to qualify leads, you can just auto follow up from your sales team, which is very cool and not something that exists in Salesforce. You are able to use a flow to automate some emails that go out, but it's very different and it's not connected to the salesperson's calendar. Those would be Salesforce specific emails that are from like a general email address. What's nice about this pre-scheduled email for sales teams, and a lot of teams appreciate this, is they're able to go in and change the template before they send it. So if you have this scheduled cadence, you can go through and change the dates, the times, what it's saying, the merge tags, the links before you start the sequence. So even if marketing creates you a sales sequence, you can still change stuff to make it personal to you or personal to the recipient before you click start. And then this will go automatically and you won't have to check back in on this lead manually to send more emails. Another feature is documents. There aren't any documents in this demo account, but you're able to upload like PDF documents to HubSpot and send them to people directly from here. So let's say that you're a pool company and you have like your PDF brochure for the year. So I'm sending an email to say, hey, I saw that you inquired about XYZ. Here's our brochure. You select it from the list and it auto pops into the email. So again, the focus here is on sales enablement. So you're able to access all of this data directly from marketing or sales that allows you to easily access and like get to your clients quickly with that data. Next, meetings, you can insert a scheduling link directly from here or propose times based off of your meeting calendar. So I can go ahead and say, okay, this one, of course, my calendar is very booked, but let's say these are the times I'm available, goes ahead and puts it in the email. Very easy to, very, very user-friendly for the person receiving the email and the one sending it. And finally, you can create a quote associated with this person and link to it right there. So that's all at the top of the email. And then at the bottom, there's even more where you can add things like an invoice, a payment link, a video that you take with Vidyard, I believe. Yep, Vidyard is the integration. Knowledge base articles, if you have that. So just so many things that you can put into these emails. And of course, you can schedule them for the future instead of right now. So the email tool in HubSpot is just incredibly user-friendly, and it has everything a salesperson could need right here at your fingertips to be able to appropriately like connect with this contact.
It feels like a lot more advanced than what Salesforce have got. And I think especially with the tracking, that is huge. That it just saves so much, that you can report on so much more, it seems, with the HubSpot tool. And I think that's something to really kind of sell to your sales team.
Yeah.
Regarding that.
Yeah, I think that the way that Salesforce and HubSpot looked at building this was very different. So Salesforce heavily relies on the salesperson to be very effective at their job. So whenever you have, which is fine, but whenever you're looking at cost and benefit of hiring a salesperson, there's a different cost benefit of hiring a very experienced elite sales rep versus someone who's newer in their career. But all of that aside, Salesforce very much relies on the sales rep being able to take a list of leads and turning it into money. HubSpot allows you to enable your sales reps with a ton of resources. So templates, sequencing, documents, meetings, all of these tools allow you to have less sales reps and do way more with your tool. Like for example, I'm a team of 2 and we manage our sales and all of that through HubSpot directly because I'm our only salesperson. But a lot of times I hear from a lot of people that our company seems like we have a lot more people than we do. And a lot of that is attributed to HubSpot and the stuff that we're able to do with HubSpot to make us appear much larger. And of course, all of my clients are enterprise. It's not small clients that use HubSpot, but people like me can use HubSpot too, and appear much larger.
I love that. I do have one question actually, which I think we can touch on now, if that's okay. Was the you mentioned obviously the calendar schedule coming up in the prospecting workspace. So somebody's asked, what kind of use case argument would you say when you're talking to your sales reps? Why is that beneficial to them? Like why should they care about that?
Yeah, it's eliminating needing to click through things essentially. So it's just having one space. So let's say that I'm in here and I have this list of new leads. So I've been assigned these new leads to go reach out to in HubSpot. I'm reviewing them, looking at the information with them. Great, cool. Going to go ahead and schedule a meeting with them. So I'm like, I'm going to reach out to them at this time. Of course, I haven't gotten their consent yet. Maybe I'm calling them on the phone. So I click call. If I had their phone numbers in here, go ahead and call them with them on the phone. I can say, okay, I can meet with you today at this time, or we can schedule a meeting here, whatever. Also for SDRs, oftentimes you're calling to schedule with an account executive or like a demo. It's not just you. So you can click through your team, which I'm the only one connected here. So just me, and choose a different team member and see their calendar as well, and be able to say, okay, I can book you in with Bridget tomorrow at 2, 3, or 4 directly here from their calendar. So it's not just your email, but it's also your teammates' emails to be able to book there. And it's so while you're on the phone, you can click from here to here instead of having to click over to your Outlook and look there, or click into your Outlook and look at your teammates' calendars. So it just makes it an all-in-one workspace instead of having to hop back and forth.
Perfect.
There's also a question about if somebody submits a form, can that trigger a follow-up sequence? Absolutely, if you're using Sales Hub Enterprise. So the way that works is if you go in and they submit, I think that I have this set up in here. Maybe. Yeah, so if they come in and they submit a form and they are qualified, whatever you want to do for the enrollment trigger, you can easily enroll them in a sequence here. Sequence is inbound leads, sender type is me, and then form submission, enrolled in sequence, good to go. Sales rep doesn't even have to touch them to start getting those emails. So yes, you can do that.
Perfect.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and like those to indicate we answered them. Okay. All right, so there's email sending. Now, calling is another big one. I personally don't do phone calls. I don't answer phone calls. I don't make phone calls. I am a true millennial and detest phone calls.
Yes.
But some people do, and it's still a very alive and well tactic when it comes to sales. So it's important that your CRM accommodates it. So if we look through calling, again, if you're a Salesforce person, you'll say you can do this in Salesforce, and you can with a third-party app or additional extension in Salesforce. It's not something that's built into Sales Hub. So, or Sales Cloud. So if you go into log a call, you can click to call the number. And for me, my browser calling is Google Voice. So you can see up here in the tab, it didn't open in a new window. It took me to Google Voice with this number. So it didn't just like call them from the thing. It opened a new window and took me away from Salesforce entirely. So I can click to call in Salesforce. However, it like bops me over to whatever my browser calling is. I could also log a call manually, going ahead and say, I called them, here's what happened. And that's it. There's really no like thing that happens. Let's say I called them, I log it, there it is. It says I logged a call. If I click into it, it says I logged a call. There's no additional context here. In HubSpot, again, I set this up today for this demo. It's not something I use, but in HubSpot, let's say that I want to call this new lead or this contact, whoever it is, I can click call and I have options. So I can call from my phone number. I can call from my browser, my phone, or the HubSpot app. So I can go ahead and click call from phone. It'll send a call to my cell phone. I answer it and it'll trigger that outbound call to this person. Same thing with the HubSpot app, or I can click call from browser and go ahead and call them, and it pops up right here where it's rated. Not doing that right now, but whenever you call them, it pops up literally right here within the HubSpot. It doesn't take you anywhere, and it starts recording. So I called this person earlier today, which is a different number of mine, and it left the recording here. So it recorded the voice call. I was able to leave an outcome that just said I left voicemail. It was an outbound call, and HubSpot transcribes the recording in HubSpot for you to be able to review. So they have transcription and analysis for calls, which allows your sales manager to be able to go in and easily audit the calls your sales team is making. And it's just really easy. So like, let's say that you're in that prospecting workspace and you're running through these leads. We're going to go through here, click through them. Okay, I'm going to call this one. Go ahead and click call. I'll leave them a voicemail, whatever happens. Okay, cool. Click to the next one, call. Click to the next one, call. So I can go through and call a ton of people way faster than like picking up my phone, looking at Salesforce, typing in the number and calling, or going to Google Voice and calling that way, and then clicking back, going back to Salesforce and calling again. So the big value prop in HubSpot from a sales perspective is it's making everything easy and it's putting it in one place. So it creates efficiency in your sales team to be able to click through and do all this stuff quickly, right? Because speed to lead is one of the most important things when it comes to sales in general. Is getting back fast is pretty much all that matters at this point. If you get back a day later after they reach out, then like they've already moved on. Mm-hmm. So yeah, calling in HubSpot is incredibly cool. I really appreciate the features there. Can you download the call recordings to save for future use, like trainings? It's a good question. Maybe.
I'm pretty sure with the you can save the calls and calls recordings to a playlist and then use that as training. So you could have like a training playlist, and it can go through like an onboarding call, renewal call, like the perfect examples of those, and you can use them as training, which is really cool. I don't know if Salesforce have the same capacity for that, Lauren. Do they?
Yep.
Nope.
Salesforce doesn't store call recordings, so no. So yeah, I'm presuming so, Christine, but I don't know for sure, so I can't give you a fully confident answer. However, I think that you should be able to. Something that becomes challenging whenever you look at pulling HubSpot data and putting it in different systems in the future is it is challenging to extract activity data from HubSpot. That is something that I've found when migrating somewhere else if needed, that pulling activity data is sometimes challenging. So I don't want to say 100% that you could pull it out of HubSpot and put it somewhere else, but maybe. I actually will Google that later because I'm curious now too. Cool. Okay. Moving on from calling. Talk about quotes briefly. I don't want to go too into it because there's a lot that you can do with Salesforce quotes. When it comes to high-level picture and you look at Salesforce versus HubSpot, Salesforce is still the better option for quoting, in my opinion, if you have large international teams selling a ton of products. There's a few reasons for that. The product structure in HubSpot is you create a product and it has a price. And in Salesforce, you create a product and there's another table of price books. And so you can essentially say, I'm selling this course and in pounds, it's this much in England, or it's US dollars this much, it's Canadian dollars this much, or if it's this market, it's this much, if it's this market, it's that much, whatever. You can use a price book to define so many different prices for one individual product. But if you wanted to create that same pricing option in HubSpot, you would need to create an individual product listing with a different price for each one of those. So most people can use HubSpot quoting. I do. I love it. And it's much easier to create a quote, make it look pretty, all of that for your people in HubSpot. However, if you do have that advanced quoting, Salesforce is still a really good option, especially if you're using Salesforce CPQ. HubSpot is moving in that direction, and there's a lot coming in HubSpot quoting. And I think that the developments in HubSpot when it comes to quoting and stuff like that is a lot slower because they have to make sure that the UI and the usability is staying the same. They're keeping the integrity of their easy to use all-in-one tool while building in these more complex features. So they've done that with their CRM, the prospecting workspace, and I would suspect that quoting is going to be a continuously evolving thing for them as well. I don't know. I don't work for HubSpot, but I would imagine as they continue to be more of an enterprise player. So in Salesforce, and this is why I always promote HubSpot Sales Hub for that earlier stage if you are using Salesforce. And then at this point, we would be like passing off the baton to your later stage sales team to go make a quote, close a deal. Okay, so say we're in Salesforce, I'm working this opportunity, I need a quote. Here I can choose my price book and then go ahead and add products. Don't have any in my demo account. And then click new quote. So here I can go through, create the name, expiration date, different details about the quote, and click save. And then my quote will be created. However, the quote that exists is a record in Salesforce. It's not a document. And in HubSpot, if I go to this same deal that syncs to that Salesforce opportunity, I can create a quote. And this quote is more like creating a proposal in Proposify or PandaDoc than it is creating like a record in your system, because you're able to click through and have kind of like a user-friendly experience of selecting products, selecting a template, all of that. So you're able to see it, adjust different things like quantity or discount, the term, the description if needed. So you're really building out a full document. You can include e-signatures or use HubSpot payments if you'd like to be able to collect money directly from that quote. You can change the template. You can create your own templates, custom templates. There's a lot that you can do with the quoting tool. Whereas in Salesforce, what you're normally doing is you're creating the quote here. It's getting approved internally, and then it's being sent to PandaDoc or a DocuSign or something like that to generate a document and then send through that tool, and then have that tool log it back to Salesforce. So Salesforce wins in having the level of complexity and granularity of building out this CPQ system. However, HubSpot wins when it comes to usability of being able to build this. So it's really a tight assessment there to say, okay, do we need the Salesforce quoting functionality, or does the HubSpot functionality work? Because a lot of people say they just want the one that can do everything, but usually you don't need it. And sometimes it's better to use the user-friendly one, especially if you have a, I don't know, I don't want to say like less mature or like newer, but something like that sales team that you want to empower with these resources to be able to move faster rather than have to rely on your sales team having this like history of Salesforce expertise to be able to use this platform. Okay, gonna get through questions. So mentioned earlier about the asset email attachment. Is it possible to create folders in there? Rosalind, I'm trying to figure out what you mean by that. So do you mean like within the contact, if I can create folders about the attachments? I don't, the answer would be no, as far as I know. So like if I'm trying to create a folder within the contact itself of the different activities, no. Oh, okay. I think I know what you're talking about. So you're talking about these emails, maybe, of if we're able to go into these templates. Yes. So there's the owners up here. But I believe that, yeah, okay, cool. We're on the same page. So if you go into these different things, I believe that, yes, you can have it in folders. One of them is owners. But if we go into the building section of this, let's say we're building out sequences. You can have a folder of sequences. So say, here's my sequence folder, inbound. Let me move this inbound leads to the folder inbound. And then if I go back to this UI, let's see if I'm able to access that via a folder. If I click into sequences, it doesn't look like it pulls up the folder, and that could just be because it's loading. But you are able to folder them from like a building perspective. What's nice is if you create your own sequences, you're able to click in and just see the ones that are owned to you right away, which is nice. Or ones assigned to your team.
Another question about, is it possible to save contracts, documents at account and contact level?
Yes. So something that's really cool about HubSpot, let me associate a company with this really quickly. This is my demo account, so everything in here is a mess data-wise. So let's go ahead and say, I throw in a bunch of different scenarios to this account. So let's say that we have, let me find Cam again. So I want to go find that call that I had earlier. So if I pull Cam back up and associate a company, so I go to the call that I had with them earlier, look at it. So right down here, you can see that they have one association at the moment. It's just associated to the contact. However, if we click into companies, we can go ahead and say, okay, I want to associate it with that company as well. And now if we go to that company record and look at activities, we can see that calls are happening with this person. So if it doesn't automatically associate, you can always build manual associations to whatever that contact is associated with. A big thing you can do with workflows as well is if you're going to create records via workflow, you can choose to automate that association. So you can definitely track it at an account level as well.
Perfect.
Cool. Okay, so hopping out of sales for a second and going through to marketing, and then we can get into all questions. So I'm going to start with the campaign view in HubSpot and just pop through forms, emails, landing pages, reporting. I think that the marketing side of HubSpot is a lot more widely understood and accepted than the sales side. So I usually spend more time on the sales side, and then we'll have conversation questions at the end. But I do want to give just like a nod to marketing in that process, because if you're coming from the Salesforce ecosystem, you're likely familiar with Pardot or Salesforce Marketing Cloud, which are Salesforce owned platforms, but they're not built into Salesforce like HubSpot is built as an all-in-one platform. There's either embedded in Salesforce, or they're still integrated. Both of them are still integrated with Salesforce with the same 15-minute sync that HubSpot is. I know because I've used both of them many times. And then you're also probably familiar with Marketo. So I just want to give you a look at the email marketer side to give that view as well. So campaigns in HubSpot are fundamentally different than campaigns in Salesforce. We'll leave it at that for now, but I have a good blog on that if you want to look at it. A HubSpot campaign is designed to be a marketer's tool, whereas a Salesforce campaign is more for sales. So if we look into a marketing campaign, say that we have a new event coming up, I'm going to own this and we want to start our marketing for this event and start tracking marketing from a month before to a month after. You can define a goal, an audience, create notes, etc. So if you think about this as your like centralized place for planning out campaigns in marketing, you can then add assets. So the big difference between Salesforce campaigns and HubSpot campaigns is Salesforce campaigns is tracking people, whereas HubSpot campaigns are tracking marketing assets and their performance. So you can add all sorts of assets to your campaigns, like blogs, landing pages, CTAs, forms, etc. And so whenever I'm starting a new event, I like to start from here. I do monthly training sessions, so I have a campaign for each of those. So every month when I go in to start planning that out, I start with a campaign and kind of build from there. So what I will do is sometimes I start with forms. So I would go in and I would create a new form for the event. Let's just say that it's an event form. Under options, I can choose the campaign that it's going in. So I can go ahead and add it to that campaign here, or I could do it elsewhere. As far as the form, I have easy access to all sorts of fields within HubSpot. It's a drag and drop form builder. There's no sort of coding that needs to go into this. And if I want to create companies, which I would only recommend doing if you're only using HubSpot, not if you're integrated with Salesforce. But if I wanted to create companies from this form submission, I could go ahead and do that as well with company properties. So forms make it very easy to collect data in your account. You can also collect hidden information on forms, like hidden UTM parameters to be able to pull in from the URL to pass through those UTMs as people submit forms. So HubSpot forms, very easy to use. So if we go ahead and publish that and go back to our campaign and refresh it, we'll go ahead and see that we now have an asset associated with this campaign. I'm going to skip the build for some of these things. So if I go ahead and add assets, let's go ahead and say that, say this email is part of this campaign as well. We can now refresh and see that we have an email and a form. So essentially, as you go and build out these different assets, you have them all living in one place to be able to report on them as a cohesive marketing effort. So I now have my landing page, my email, my form, all in one spot. And I can report on attribution across these campaigns or across these assets. I can report on the performance of the campaign overall, all in one spot. So as a marketer, it allows me to see what is this individual effort doing? How is it driving an impact on the business? Instead of looking at like each piece individually. It's also very easy to make all of these things. Like you saw how easy it was to make the form. I recently had a client that was moving from Pardot to HubSpot and we built out an email together on a call in like a few minutes. And she was like floored because it had taken them months to be able to do that. And they had to have a designer and like custom stuff. But building an email in HubSpot is very similar to building an email in MailChimp. Like it's very easy, drag and drop, but the type of automation and all that you have is a lot more advanced than something like MailChimp. But making such a user-friendly email tool on such a powerful CRM platform is so valuable to so many companies. So FYI, the email builder is really great. And out of the box, it is mobile responsive. The big thing that's super beneficial to marketers is the reporting. So I'm switching back over to my account now just to be able to show you reports that have data. But as a marketer, you're able to track like your website. So you're able to be able to go in and monitor how your website's performing. It's easy to see these quick little up and down arrows of if it's doing better or worse over time periods. And it's nice to be able to see where your traffic is being sourced from. So as a marketer, this is giving you like indicators of okay, what's performing, what's not? Are we trending in the right direction? Are we not? So it gives you the opportunity to say, okay, we have a higher bounce rate this month. Like, where are they bouncing from? Like, what's not retaining people? So it gives you indicators to be able to drill down as a marketer to fix things, make some actionable decisions. From a marketing email perspective, this is probably my favorite, like, marketing reporting that HubSpot does, is, especially if you're an email marketer, is to be able to go into the email tab. Most people go here and they work on creating their emails, but a lot of them never click over to here. This allows you to analyze your email performance by time period. So if we say like this week or this quarter, it lets you see trend analysis of how all of your emails performing, like quarter over quarter or year over year, compared to year before or period before. It shows you engagement, delivery, performance reports by device, email performance chart, dashboard, and all of this is out of the box. Like, you didn't have to customize any of this or do any of this. The only thing that I'm doing here is changing the date range, but you can also change things to automated emails versus one-off sends, so you can see how your automation's performing versus your regular email sends. And you can also do it by campaign. So if we pull up a campaign specifically and look at all emails, we can see what the performance is for that campaign. So I really love the email analyze tool and the email health tool. So a lot of tools don't really help you with your email. It just like presents you this option to start building emails. HubSpot allows you to see your health at an account-wide level of your like health, being like, how engaged are your emails? Are they landing in the inbox? And it allows you to benchmark with HubSpot customers overall or your own industry, which is very cool because a lot of people like to see, especially executives, like to see industry benchmarks. Like, how are we performing compared to others? And this gives you a score in different areas as far as how you're performing. And I love that. Finally, just another tidbit, you can also manage your social and your ads directly from HubSpot, which is very helpful. Again, going to that all-in-one tool feature we were talking about before. Now, product demo done. Go ahead and throw questions in the chat. I think we have 15 minutes until this session is like officially done. While you're typing out questions, like final plugs for me that you can have on the slides. There's a resources slide attached. My team designed a certification course on the integration. So if you are using HubSpot and Salesforce together, we have a course. It is paid. However, it's 84 videos. It's like professional level quality, and it is updated all the time. Very helpful to learn both of these tools. I also did a different hug with the admin hug about HubSpot 101 for Salesforce. So if you want more data, like those first few slides about HubSpot versus Salesforce from a comparative perspective, watch this recording. It's on YouTube, free to access, but it's a deeper dive into that side of it. And then finally, my LinkedIn, if you'd like to follow me. I try to post on there daily, but like I post on there enough. Regularly. Navigators, again, I was talking about first community for HubSpot and Salesforce users. So feel free to hop in there, free to join. And then there's a paid subscription to get access to all of our trainings. Again, certification course, more details here. Finally, you can schedule a meeting with me if you'd like through these slides.
Amazing. We've got one question so far. So what would you say are the main benefits for sales team thinking of moving to HubSpot from Salesforce?
The main benefits that sales teams experience in HubSpot is it's more intuitive, they can move faster, and they're able to align better with other teams. So if you're looking at it as I'm clicking through this as a marketer, I'm able to access all of these tools, and sales is working right here. So I'm working here, sales is working here. We're working in conjunction in the same system. And if I go look at a contact, trying to think of somebody who may have received stuff recently. Let me think about this. Jessica Cameron is one I used a lot. So let's think, this is somebody who was a client for a long time. So if we look at emails with this person, I can go ahead and see all of the emails that me as an account, I'm of course all of these people, but me as an account manager was emailing this person. And then me as a sales rep had tasks to work with this person and renew. And then me as a marketer was monitoring marketing emails and form submissions by this person. So whenever I'm evaluating this at an account-wide level and we're working as a team, we're all looking at the same data in the same spot. We're just filtering it differently. And so this is a big value prop for teams in general. But it's also sales teams to be able to have visibility into what marketing's doing. Like a big complaint from sales is, I don't know what emails are going to my contacts. I don't know what marketing's doing to engage with people. I wish I had visibility. Because like if you're in Salesforce Marketing Cloud, like Salesforce has no idea what's going on there. Or if you're in Marketo, like the integration's just not great. So if you're in HubSpot, we can all see as a salesperson or as a marketer, okay, they received this email. I now know they got this email. I know the time they got it. So if I'm a salesperson, I'm going to do outreach, I can go ahead and say, okay, no one's emailed them today, so I'm not overloading them. Or we could say, hey, they got a ton of emails today. We shouldn't email them again. So it just allows for a more like aligned business, especially if you move your sales, marketing, and your customer service teams all into one platform where they're all working off of that same data source. And then, of course, the enablement features, being able to have your calendar connected, the meetings links, the sequences, all of that really creates a toolkit for your sales team. Whereas like Salesforce gives your team a platform and HubSpot gives your team a toolkit of like how to actually do their job, especially if you go into enterprise and like being able to do the playbooks and updating properties and all of that is super helpful.
I love that.
Okay, I'm going to answer some of the pre-submitted questions while we wait, and you're welcome, Rosalind. Thank you. Okay, one of the questions was, what's the best way to export data from the Salesforce platform? If you are moving to HubSpot, I recommend installing the integration with Salesforce and then importing data through the integration, and then getting rid of Salesforce, deleting the integration. Reason is it'll automatically pull over the associations for you, and it'll pull the data in that way. It's just a lot easier than doing it through manual export and then re-import manually.
I guess that gets rid of some of the human error that might occur from doing it manually.
Yeah. Human error from doing it manually would be missing the associations, not associating it correctly in the new tool. Because you have to, whenever you're migrating data manually, you have to pull. The process would be like, let's say we need to migrate contacts manually from Salesforce. You would export a file of all of your contacts from Salesforce. You'd import it into the new system. Then you would export all the contacts from the new system and do a VLOOKUP to grab the new ID from the new system to match it with the old ID from the old system. And then let's say you need to pull in all opportunities. So you export the opportunities, then you have to do a VLOOKUP across the table with the new system's ID and the old system's ID, and then pull that in. So
that hurts my brain.
Yeah.
But don't do that.
So I've done that before. It's definitely possible. It's just, it leaves so much room for misassociation, or anytime you do a VLOOKUP, there's also the issue of like, maybe it's one row off or whatever. So it's just the benefit of installing the integration and pulling it that way is it pulls in all the associations for you. And then you might need to do stuff like do some activity exporting and importing manually into HubSpot. However, it's a small piece instead of everything. How to best use HubSpot from a marketing perspective and understanding how sales uses it. How can we improve how we support sales? I think I answered that one. The one thing of like, how can marketing better support sales is really filling out those different assets on that email tab. So if you look at sequences, make sure that your sales team has sequences. The way that I build sequences for sales teams as a marketer is I ask them to send me their most sent emails. Like usually a sales rep will have like a Word document where they store their templates for sales emails. I would look at your top sales reps, your top performing, and ask them for the emails they send, and go ahead and take that from a branding, marketing perspective and create sales sequences to give them a place to start from. Like, we want to be able to learn from the top reps of your company. So if you can take what they're doing and go ahead and sequence it, that's great. Go ahead and build out documents. Lots of people like to see slides and different stuff like that, or one pagers whenever you're doing sales presentations. So it's really nice to go ahead and stock that library with stuff for your sales team. Creating blogs that your sales team can use in the sales process is incredible. That's our blog. My blog is probably the most successful part of my business as far as driving traffic and all of that. We get our most deals from our organic search on our blog. And the reason that happens is because I'll be on sales calls and I'll get an idea for a blog and write it from there. So our blog is written to answer questions as people are asking them through servicing clients or sales calls. Give them posts that they can use, ask what questions are being asked frequently, and create content for that they can easily plug and play. And also like train them on how to use the meetings tool, train them in the prospecting workplace. Like salespeople don't like to take time away from their day to learn these new things because they want to be churning out sales, obviously. So find a way to make training very easy and quick for them to adapt to this new tool.
Another question. So can marketing set up their email signatures too? Yes. I think the answer is to that one, isn't it?
Marketing, it depends on what that means. So marketing can set up my own email signature as a person. I don't think you can change somebody else's email signature in HubSpot.
No, that is set up individually. Yeah, you can't
So
change.
if by their email addresses you mean the salespeople, they would need to go in and set up their own email. But something I've done is I like to host just like a lunch and learn. And on that lunch and learn, we set up their first meeting links. We set up their email signature. We go ahead and everybody sends their first sequence. So we do that in half an hour, 45 minutes. So everyone is doing it all at once to make sure that it's done.
I like that idea. That's a really good idea.
Okay. How to get Salesforce users to embrace HubSpot, teach them how to use it, get them excited about using it, show them how it's saving them time. Like whenever the key to adoption is sales. So every time that you're presenting a new platform or doing anything in business, it's all sales. So everything is getting buy-in from people. So sell the platform to them. Like think about why you chose HubSpot as a platform for your company. Think about how you implemented it and sell them to your users. Because if you present something to anyone and say, hey, we got something new, you're going to have to learn a whole new system and change everything, the reception is going to be poor. But if you say, hey, we heard your complaints, we know that you're receiving friction in being able to schedule your emails, have visibility into your team's calendar. It's really challenging for SDRs that you guys booked for demo calls. Like we've heard you and we found a solution. Let me show you. And send Loom videos with like quick screen recordings or involve them in that sales process. Maybe not direct them directly with your rep, but send little things of like, hey, we're looking at this new platform. It can solve this problem. Here's the solution. What do you think? And so involve people in the decision, make them feel empowered, and sell them on the features and how their features, the benefits of HubSpot are solving the current pain points they have in Salesforce. So it's really a process. It's not just, hey, Salesforce is cut off this date. You're using HubSpot this date. Like, here's a document, read it of how to use it. Like, it's really a sales and like a rollout implementation process for your sales team. You got to get people excited.
Love that.
Migrating Salesforce and setting up new processes and reporting in HubSpot, that's a bigger conversation than one question on a form. I would recommend reaching out to a HubSpot partner. A lot of people will help you with migrating to Salesforce and setting up in HubSpot. I can help you with that. I usually stick to the integration, but can help with migrations. There's a lot of really great partners that can help with implementing HubSpot. So if you are looking for the nitty-gritty details of like how to actually get started with this and how to do it, I would always recommend working with a HubSpot partner because they have the inside scoop of what's new with HubSpot, what's coming, and how to build things correctly. And they have this wealth of knowledge of how other people have done it, best practices, their experience, all of that. So TrueJ is a great migration partner. You're correct. They typically do the data migration and not the setup from what I remember. Like they have their migration tool, but I don't know if they're an actual like implementation partner of how to use HubSpot or if they just help you transfer data. But I know that they're really great people regardless. So if they do have those services, then definitely a good option. I think that's kind of the gist of the questions that came in. I don't think we have any more that are coming through the chat. Let's see.
No, I think that's it. I think a couple of people said thanks. It's been great. And I agree. I've learned so much about Salesforce today. And I hope everyone else has learned the differences between HubSpot and Salesforce. So as mentioned at the start, I'm going to send around the recording and all of the links that Lauren has shared, especially the slides, how to reach out to Lauren, her LinkedIn, her next training sessions, her past training sessions. So definitely take a look at that and have a look through those resources. But thank you, Lauren, so much. It's been great. And now you can get on with the rest of your day because it's so early over there.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
All right. Cheers.